Hello and welcome to day 2 of my Yamaha V-Star 650 clutch replacement. As you can see, we really haven't gotten anything done since yesterday, and that's just fine. What we are going to start with is cleaning the old gasket off of this clutch cover. It's, the more I look at it, the more I believe it was probably the original gasket, and it is wafer thin and brittle. Time for it to come off. Sorry for the bad angle there, and partly in and partly out of the sun. Got the trusty scraper here, and I'm going to very carefully remove this old gasket. And I say very carefully because I don't want to A, cut myself, or B, cut into the metal. That's not going to be helpful. It's going to take some time here, and that's okay, because I'll tell you something right now. Taking time to do a job like this really well pays off. There's a sign in some garages. There's never time to do it right and always time to do it again. I hope that they're using that sign as an inspiration to do it right the first time, because that's really the key to doing good work, is doing it right the first time. Having to do it twice is not a professional thing to have to do. I have had contact with many mechanics who strive above all else to get it right the first time, and they do fantastic work, let me tell you. And so what if it takes an extra 5 minutes, an extra 8 minutes? And this is one of those times. You can rush through a job like this, and you know what'll happen? You end up with an engine oil leak right here at the clutch cover, and forever and a day, you're gonna know you did a poor job. So just slow down. Slow down. Do a real nice job. I know this might seem a little like watching paint dry, but and I might skip over some of this section to spare you, but believe me when I say I am in no rush. Okay. Rearmed with a fresh blade. Yeah, see that dowel is stuck a bit, and that's fine. I don't mind if it stays in there. Very nice looking work so far, with a razor blade anyway. But I have a little bit of sandpaper too, and that's coming out right now. Because quite frankly, I can't see where I can do any more good with a razor blade. Now this is P600. You don't need P600. That's just what I happen to have laying around. And just give it a little polish. Now the gasket that I have to replace this one is an aftermarket one, I think. From the look of it, it doesn't look like a Yamaha gasket, is all I'm saying. It might be. But it also looks quite a bit thicker than the one that just came off. Of course, that's not that difficult to achieve, since the one that just came off was unbelievably thin. Well, that's looking fantastic. Okay. That's looking absolutely terrific. That surface is so incredibly flat now. I don't know if perhaps the cover is warped. That could be, but I doubt it. And once I bolt it into place, that should come out anyway. So, oh, sorry, I bumped you there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the oil seal. And I thought this tool was going to work. It's not. I couldn't find the tool I needed, so I'm going to use the two wrong tools to try and get the circlip out. There's a circlip in there and an oil seal. And I got a new oil seal, which looks like the exact right size. pretty close, that's for sure. So let's try and get this out. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned it before. I probably have. But the thing is, there are almost every seal and gasket on this thing is 20 years old from the look of them. And they need to be replaced. Simple as that. You see what I'm doing here is I've got the slotted screwdriver in behind it now. Started it with the pick and a really sharp Phillips head screwdriver. And now I'm just trying to work it out. Hopefully as I go around, there we go, it popped. And it looks good, it's not bent. See, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's not bent. I think that's reusable, and that's good because that piece is on back order. Now as for the oil seal, that should come out without too much fuss. Now I battered on it a little bit, so it's not in pristine condition, but what I'm going to do here is clean it up a bit and we'll have a little bit closer look at it. Just like a lot of the other seals on this motorcycle, I planned to replace this because it's probably 20 years old and needed to be replaced. I didn't know if it needed to be replaced. I just took it for granted that it did. And you know, I think it was probably a wise choice because the inside of it looks a bit flattened. So there we go. One old oil seal. And I think I mentioned this yesterday as also that yeah, if you look at this one closely, it is not flattened on the inside. It's got a real nice fine seal there. Like I mentioned yesterday, being so close to the oil filter, I think there's a good chance that that oil seal is a oiling system critical component. Probably it's under pressure, which means if it fails, you lose oil pressure. Now, it could be under suction. I don't know. But in any case, I figured it was probably critical enough to warrant replacement. Boy, the goo just keeps on coming out. Okay, so this is looking terrific. think I'm gonna turn the brake cleaner on this. That oil seal and circlip are in. Yep, they are in. There goes that dowel. Like I said, that one was stuck, and that's fine. It can stay stuck. I think we're doing good here. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys are wobbling around like crazy in the wind. All right, so clutch cover is ready to be put back on. So with the clutch cover prepared now, with the new oil seal, I want to backtrack to yesterday. Here, I'll bring you right in here. I want to backtrack to yesterday when I was mentioning the dots. Now I augmented these dots with some black markers so that you could see them, but they're little dimples there, you see, and they line up with the notches on the friction discs. That's a Yamaha feature. I have no reason to disregard it. That's their way of doing it, and I'm happy to duplicate that. Now, besides that, there was one other thing I was going to do here. And I'll share that with you right now. I'm going to take the pressure plate off again. And it's because of something I saw yesterday, but I didn't address it. There seemed to be quite a bit of gunk in behind this pressure plate, and I never wiped it out. And the thing of it is because it's on the inside of the clutch, there's no real mechanism for that gunk to come out. So I am going to take it out right now. I'm just going to wipe it out. It'll only take a minute, and it'll just do a little bit nicer of a job. I don't know if you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, but there is a distinct lack of power tools on this job. Going bzz, bzz, bzz. Not that I have anything against power tools. They're very handy, and in the hands of a skilled craftsman, they're very useful. But as you probably noticed, I'm up in the mountains, so I don't have access to a lot of power tools right now. I mean, I do have some battery operated stuff, and I can always start up the generator, of course, if I have to. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this pressure plate off. And that, I'll bring it right in here and you can have a look at it for yourself. That, right in there, is that little bit of gunk I was talking about. And it got to bugging me. Yep, I'll say it. It started to bug me. And I thought, you know what? Even though I got to do it again, I'm going to clean that gunk out of there. That's looking pretty good. Pretty darn good. You bet. That looks way better. Okay. Now there was one other thing. That I noticed yesterday. And I think I could I can address it with this on. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's this center push rod here. It's actually the push rod adjuster. And I am no expert, but it seems to me it's a little bit loose. Now, it's an adjuster. So, I'm sure nothing catastrophic would have happened had I left it loose, but I'm not taking any chances. No sirree. Is that a 10? Yeah, it is. It's a 10 millimeter. That's what I was muttering about. And so is the center. Now remember yesterday we did a crisscross pattern while tightening. That is still in effect. In fact, it's quite a nice, elegant star pattern, five-point star pattern. Okay, so they've all bottomed out. Now, it seems to me 88 inch-pounds. Okay. Just go around one more time. Very nice. Okay. Now, as for this center adjuster, it doesn't seem to want to tighten at all. Maybe it's supposed to stay loose like that. I mean, it's certainly not loose on the center adjuster. That's why there's a Phillips head screw in the head on the top of it so that you can turn it and adjust it. And I'll take you around to the other side and show you what I mean. Right down here is the other end of that clutch release mechanism. And when it's forward, it's supposed to be, I hope you guys can see that if you get in there. There's an index mark right there. And when you push the mechanism forward, it's supposed to line up with that index mark, and it is. So that's good. That's good. It's forward and lining up with that index mark. And when I read that in the manual the first time, it made absolutely no sense. It could have been in Chinese. I didn't understand it. But now that I've been working with it for a couple of days, it makes sense. So that being the case, that it's properly adjusted here, it doesn't need to be, or it's at the proper mark there. It doesn't need to be adjusted here. It's okay. So let's carry on. We're doing good. Let's keep it rolling. This is tight. Those are all tightened. I didn't change anything I didn't change anything in the clutch. But this still needs to be scraped. Fantastic. Yeah, that's looking really good. As far as I understand it, these gaskets are supposed to go on dry. And I don't have a problem with that. No, that's fine. If they want it to go on dry, I am happy to oblige. It would probably be better if there was another sealer on there of some kind, but dry, I can live with it. Now, one last check. Mental check done. Oil seal in, circlip on. Absolutely no issues. Ooh, that went home. See that tube that was sticking out from the oil pump went into that oil seal with a very satisfying clunk. Okay. Let's put in some bolts. Get them started by hand first. Now, classic gasket seating pattern, crisscross. So I'm going to put these in until they just touch and then continue on. And this does two things. It allows the gasket to sit really flat and not get bunched up in any particular place. And you don't risk warping your cover. Well, I'd say this is starting to come along pretty nicely. with any new gasket, you probably are going to have to go back over these again after maybe after your first ride. Just snug them up again, because that gasket is a little thicker, so it probably is going to crush a little bit, just a little. Yes. Okay, here's my used filter. Now, I should probably mention that a proper clutch job includes an oil change, okay? Especially after it's been slipping. But with such low kilometers on this since the last oil change, I just can't throw away perfectly good motorcycle oil with 300 kilometers on it. I mean, that just does not make sense to me, right? So, in goes the old filter. And here is the old O-ring. And I am not putting that back on. I mentioned I bought a new one. New oil ring. O-ring, I should say. And here it is. Is it the right size? Perfect. Is it round? Absolutely. Holy cow. I don't know if you can see that, but the new one is significantly wider. So once again, really glad to be replacing that. Oil filter in, O-ring in. That's kind of odd that one is not seating completely, but it's pretty tight. So I don't risk stripping it out. I'm just going to leave that one. It's backed up by all these other ones. I mean, they all kind of work together, don't they? Once you got everything on this cover tightened, they all kind of work together. And if one is just a little bit off torque, well, it'll probably be fine. Oh my goodness. Time for a stretch. Okay, well, we're on the home stretch now. Clutch is back together, clutch cover, oil filter cover. Okay, T-Bone, okay, take it easy. He's happy. All right, all right. Now we're on the home stretch, so that's all on. Muffler needs to go on, muffler system, foot peg with the brake lever, fill with engine oil, and we'll be ready to start. So, muffler system. I'm going to put these all on with anti-seize. Now, I could probably get by without it, but I would be a lot more comfortable putting anti-seize on there. And remember I mentioned before, I'm replacing these old muffler bolts with new ones. And they're getting a dose of anti-seize as well. Oh yeah, we are doing anti-seize all over the place. Muffler system. What a beaut. All right. So and I've got that one started too. My goodness, that's fantastic. Okay. Those can't go anywhere. So I'm going to get these ones started. And good, that one started. You see, you could start in on a job like this, thinking, oh no, this is going to be hard. And you're psyching yourself up for that. Don't do that. Be optimistic. I can do this. I can do it. I have the power to make this happen. I hope you don't mind all the effort it's taken to get these bolts and everything done. I know I'm making quite the scene out of it, but isn't it better to know that it's going to be tough and psych yourself up for that and be ready for that? Because what good is a video where the person just breezes through it in 15 minutes or in 5 minutes? Is that really giving you an understanding of what it's going to take? It's like a lot of bolts, exhaust bolts. You don't really want to leave those loose on account of you'll have an exhaust leak. And if you've got an exhaust leak, you run the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, that's not likely with a motorcycle. But why risk it when it's a simple matter to take a couple extra minutes, seconds, whatever, and make sure your bolts are tight? Oh, that one's tight. Excellent. Let's carry on. All right, can you see okay? I'll just give you a little adjustment there. Oh. I think this went on just like that. Oh, that's fantastic. They both started. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put anti-seize on there. That's okay. Good, it started. I could feel it with my finger. And that one has also started. See, that didn't take very long, did it? There we go. Muffler's on. Foot pegs. Foot peg. Single foot peg. Now, as you recall, when I took these off, I was not very pleased with the condition of this bolt. It's it almost looks like it was cross-threaded. It wasn't cross-threaded, I don't think, but it's bent and misshapen. I think what I'm going to do, if it's all right with you, T-Bone, is I'm going to put this one in the top where it's under less stress, and there we go. There, it started, and it's easy to get at. By the way, these foot pegs and crash bar bolts, they're not having the same problem as the exhaust bolts. The exhaust bolts have a tendency to rust up. Okay, now make sure I got the spring on there. There we go. Spring is on. The spring is what pulls the brake light on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break. I need a break. We got a lot done today, and I'm pretty beat. So I'm going to take a break. Tomorrow, I'm going to put oil in it. Not this oil. This is just an empty jug. I'm going to put motorcycle oil in it, and I'm going to do the first test and test ride. See you there. Welcome back to day 3 of the clutch replacement on my 2004 V-Star 650 Classic. Don't mind my dog over there. He's been rolling in the dirt. We're going to get this wrapped up today. Hopefully we'll get some oil in it. I'll do a clutch adjustment. We'll test the clutch function. Then I'll start it. We'll do another test of the clutch function and hopefully go for a test ride. Let's get at her. So I'm putting in just a garden variety 2040 motorcycle oil. And so don't pay any attention to the jug it's coming out of. It's a motorcycle oil. This is not. This is just a clean jug that I had laying around. All right. Now to check to see how much oil is in there, I'm gonna go down here and there's a window right down there. Okay, I'm going to bring you down here so you can see. At least I hope you'll be able to see. There's a window right there. Hold on. Okay, you just see the tip of it there. And if you look real close, there, yeah, you'll see that the level is in the window. When the motorcycle is sitting up more or less straight up and down, it's in the window. I know it's not the best angle, but that's your goal. You want the oil to be halfway up that window. Now, remember, I have not started this yet, and so to get the level perfect, what I'm going to do is start the motorcycle to fill the oil filter, and then it'll probably take a little more oil. For now, I'll button it up. Before I do that though, I'm going to unlock the clutch adjustment. This is a 12 millimeter. It's got to go quite a ways, actually. 12 millimeter wrench here and everything. Okay. Now remember, the goal is to get the end of that clutch lever to line up with the mark on the crankcase. So we've got quite a ways to go here. Might take you a few minutes to get it to where you're really happy with it. That's okay. You know, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right the first time. There we go. That's tightened up so it won't loosen off. And I'll try to pull you in here so you can see where I've got the clutch adjusted to. Oh, that's right too. It's really hard to see in that spot. Okay, that's about as good as it's going to get, I guess. But you can see it's pointed at that big knob there, at that big dimple there. Or it's not a dimple, it's a bump. And that's where you need to put it. That's where it needs to be. Pretty happy with that. Here, I'll bring you right in. Why not? There's a lock nut right here. Undo the lock nut. And then you turn this cable adjuster, because there's a little too much slack in this clutch lever. I'm going to put you back here for a minute while I work on this. Okay, I think I've pretty much got it where I want it. You see, it's got, oh, there's a little bit of room there. There's a little bit of slack there. And at the same time I'm doing that, you can see that that clutch lever down there is actually moving just a little bit too. So, yeah, I think I got about 1/8 of an inch there. And that's textbook. Tighten up the lock nut. And then put the cover on. And that's feeling super. That's feeling fantastic. It feels like the clutch is completely disengaging when I pull the lever like that. That's great. That's the feel I want. All right, that's the feel that's proper. Fuel on, choke on. Ignition on. It or not, but that little bit of smoke coming up there from the exhaust is from that penetrating fluid I was using on the bolts. Okay, it's been on for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. Let's check the oil level. Make sure that it's still up. And yeah, it's not bad. I could put some more in. there's definitely room for more. It's in the window, but it's not at the halfway point. Oh, that's looking really super. I'm gonna try and get you in here so you can see it. Okay, you see the window there? It's right at about halfway in that window. That is right where you want it. You don't want to put too much in. You don't want to have too little. If it's not in the window at all, that's not enough. You got to add more. If it's completely covering the window, then you really don't know how much is in there. And let me tell you, there are downsides to both. If there's not enough oil in the crankcase, the engine could starve for oil. The bearings will run dry, and in just a matter of seconds, the bearings will start to literally strip out, and you'll end up having to do a complete engine rebuild. The same thing goes for too much oil. Now, I know some of you may have a V-Star 650 or whatever that leaks oil, and you think putting in too much oil is okay. It's actually not, and this is why. Putting in too much oil, there's a risk that the crankcase, that the crankshaft will actually start whipping up the oil. It's spinning around at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 RPM. It can whip that oil up into a foam, and if that happens, it'll eventually transform all of your engine oil into foam. And once that starts to get pumped into your bearings, they run dry, because foam is not a lubricant. They'll run dry, and you end up burning out your bearings again. So too little, bad. Too much, bad. Right there, halfway through the window, perfect. So I realize I got started there off camera, but I'm stopping now to let you know. I started it up. I've got the clutch in. I've got it in first gear, and it seems to be fine. Clutch was doing its job there. All right, I'm going up, and I'll come back. Well, thank you for watching right to the end, guys, gals, and kids of all ages. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. The V-Star clutch is working fantastic. The motorcycle is working very well. I just had a look underneath here for leaks, and it looks pretty good so far. It's still a little messy because we had it all apart. But hopefully I'll get down there sometime and clean it up so I can tell if it's leaking. You never know. You might have a little bit of a drain plug leak or something like that. You know, there's a crush washer on that drain plug that I never replaced. Probably be a good idea to do that. If it's leaking, definitely do that. Yeah, so that wraps it up. Thanks again for watching. I can't thank you enough. I read all your comments, and if I happen to read one that tells me I helped somebody, boy, that would just make my day. That pretty much wraps up this clutch replacement on my V-Star 650. Good luck with your project. Have a great day. Now I gotta clean up.